Hello, folks. Welcome to the Genuinely Interested podcast. I'm your host, Roy Bensby. This podcast is an opportunity for me to speak with some of the most interesting people I know, either with amazing talents or achievements or unbelievable life stories or just invaluable insights into areas which they have dedicated their lives to studying. I sit down with these amazing individuals from across the planet and I try to ask them questions that will hopefully help you, the listener, extract something valuable or learn something new or just hopefully get inspired by. You can find all the episodes for the podcast on all the major podcasting platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, Google, Overcast, iHeartRadio, literally all of them. It's there. If you love the show, if it adds value to your life in any way, shape, or form, please leave reviews on iTunes. It really helps grow the podcast. It puts it up there so more people can see it. You can also find all the episodes and everything else, all the information that's updated regularly on the website, which is roybensvi.com, ROYBENTZVI.com. And you can sign up for updates as well. Also been updating the YouTube channel. So I've been uploading old episodes pretty much on a daily basis. So you can find it there. And in the future, I hope to make video podcasting as well. If that's something you guys want to check out and are interested in, please shoot me email. I'd love to hear from you. And also make sure to check out the social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. I post there daily. And lastly, if you guys want to support and help grow the podcast, please go to Buy Me a Coffee or Anchor or Patreon. It is an endeavor to grow this podcast and make it what it should be. And it takes a village. So I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. I see that there are literally listeners from all over the world in each and every country. So thank you to everyone and on to the show. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This week on the podcast, I have Rebecca Corey. Rebecca is the founder and president of Stand Up for Pits Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to ending abuse, discrimination, and saving pit bull type dogs. She's also a hilarious comedian, and she organized the 1 Million Pitbull March on Washington, D.C. It is, I believe, the biggest march ever, definitely for pit bulls, potentially for dogs. I would have to Google that. But she also puts up these amazing events. I think it was probably every year up until COVID, but all these comedians, it's called Stand Up for Pits. All these comedians from Bill Burr to Jim Gaffigan to Tig Notaro and Adam Sandler, they all come and spread awareness and just try to dispel some of the myths that are in and around pit bulls. They are inherently good. They are sweet. They are gentle. They are just like any other dog, only better. So that's the majority of what Rebecca and I discuss on this podcast. She is a massive pit bull lover, obviously, as am I. So it's just really us talking about pit bulls for about an hour or so. And if that's something you're into, which why wouldn't you be? Please stay tuned and listen to the podcast. At the very end of the podcast, she also plugs in all the different ways you can help the organization Stand Up for Pits, ways to get involved, ways to donate, follow, etc., etc. So if you love dogs, if you love pit bulls, please make sure to listen to the episode. Please make sure to wait till the very end, and you can hear all the different ways that you can help. So without further ado, let me introduce this week's guest, Rebecca Corey. Enjoy the episode, everyone.
The Genuinely Interested Podcast.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for doing this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course.
I'll do anything to talk about the precious hippos we know as pit bull type dogs.
I love that you said hippos because I have a brown pit bull, and it's literally a hippo.
Yeah.
Like she's just got the belly. She just flops on her back. It's a hippo. There's really no other way to describe it.
That's right. That's right. land seals, sofa
Land seals.
seals. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's something we'll talk about later. The maybe the rebranding that is needed with that name, Pitbull, because I feel like it just has so many bad connotations and it doesn't portray them in the correct light.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's I mean, that's part of the problem, isn't it? 3 decades of being wrongly vilified and stupid. All the myths and all the garbage that they say about them, and it's just another way that humanity evidently, as we see more and more and more, because everyone has cameras on their phones, that it's not new. It's only, humans love to discriminate against one another for any and every reason. Skin color, sexual preference, religion. It's like, and to the fact that humans are discriminating against voiceless dogs. It's not shocking. It's pathetic and sad, but it's not shocking,
Yeah.
So it's the word pit bull has become this, this like dirty word that describes these man killers, when really, the man killers are men, human. So that's just dangerous, far more dangerous than any dog could ever be, by far, are human beings. And also, since we're going right off the bat and talking about,
let's do it. Let's
just go. What people don't realize is that pit bull is a term used to describe a type of dog. It's a term.
So that's something I actually wanted to ask you. Fundamentally, please explain to people. Let's talk fundamentals. What's a pit bull?
Oh, a pit bull. Well, to me, a pit bull is a natural comedic genius, a farting velvet unicorn, the funniest, sweetest, most loyal, loving creatures to walk the face of the earth, that are actual gifts to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do to them is in literally intolerable and shameful. But there is what's called an American Pit Bull Terrier. That is a real breed, recognized by the AKC, a real dog breed called an American Pit Bull Terrier. APBT, I believe, is what they call them. But that's real.
Yeah.
But the 85% of dogs that are occupying, U.S. shelters, in overflowing shelters, the dogs that are being forced to fight to the death, the dogs that are being abused in horrific manners, neglected, wrongly vilified, banned, killed. Those are what we call dogs that humans have labeled pit bulls. And the word pit bull is a term used to describe a type of dog based solely on its appearance. So I have Sally and I have another dog named Todd.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to set them side by side, they look nothing alike. And if you were to swab the inside of their mouths and do DNA tests, they would not come back American Pit Bull Terrier. I have done their DNA tests. Neither are American Pit Bull Terrier. Mastiff, Staffy, French Bulldog, Lab. They're all these different kinds of dogs, English Bulldog mixed in, but they're called a pit bull. People label them that because they have squatty little bodies, square heads, short hair, short fur. So they call them pit bulls, which then if you take that to the other level and you think about that and you go, wow, these dogs, literally just dogs, they're just dogs. They're being banned and vilified and killed by the millions because of what they look like. Like it's literally unthinkable. I mean, it's a genocide. It's just fear-based ignorance. It's all the things that discrimination is made up of. fear-based ignorance and, not educating yourself. And also people that fear them. It's in a lot of ways, I don't blame them, because look at what the media and entertainment has done. Look how they portray these dogs. It's really sad. And we have so much work to do, in order to try to reverse 3 decades of ignorance towards these poor dogs. It just takes, yes, like you said, a rebranding. And actually the New York Times issued an article they put out an article, but I could send it to you if you want to post it with this episode.
Okay.
New York Times did a piece about the rebranding of pit bull type dogs. What was ironic is on the cover the front page of the article, they put this big beefy pit bull on with spiked collars. And I thought, wow, you don't even know, like it was a good effort. It was a good effort, but here it is. Like, it's so embedded, like it's so embedded, this image of them and this tough guy, even when you listen to the news or, hear people talking, they're like, oh, he was a pit bull of an attorney. Yep. Or this guy came at me like a pit bull. People, it's so ingrained in society's mind, and they're subconscious about, when someone, I saw a guy on Sports Center talking about, some guy, he was at a bar and this guy got hammered and he was taught what they got into a fight. He goes, he came at me like a pit bull. And I wanted to say, like, if I could have been on that panel, I would have said, wait, so he came at you and he was like super cute
all over your face.
Yeah. And he was farting nonstop. And you just don't know what to do. Is that how he came at you?
Yeah.
Like, see, so it's that, I mean, it's deeply rooted in our society. And we were actually mentioned, myself and my organization, Stand Up for Pits Foundation, was mentioned in the New York Times article as being part of this rebranding sort of movement, in a sense, by referring to them in so many other names, just like removing this horrible stigma that society has put on them, so that's very much part of the work that we have to keep doing all the time, is just educating people about, like, these are just dogs. They are no different than any other dog, except they're better.
Yeah.
They're better than every.
There's no difference. It's just that they're better. That's all.
They're just better than every other dog on the planet.
And the fortunate thing is while that is very true, there's not only do they suffer, all these other breeds, Dogo Argentino, American Bulldog, like you said, the Staffies, all these different Mastiffs. It's like, I think 8 or 10 different breeds that suffer because they have a similar black head, and people just, dangerous. Why? I don't know. Dangerous because it looks like a pit bull. It's a pit bull. It's labeled a pit bull. And so not only does the pit bull suffer, all these adjacent, and actually they're not even adjacent, they maybe just look alike, breeds suffer because of this stupid ignorance.
Well, they're all under the same umbrella. If they're block-headed, short-haired, they're immediately, and the media too, like if there's an incident, a bite incident of any kind.
Oh, the media's the worst.
If the dog is, if the dog is a boxer, but the person doing the article doesn't know, and they just go, that's a pit bull, a pit bull, a pit bull. And it's like, no, it's just a dog. And a way that dogs communicate is through biting sometimes. Yeah. And the headlines and the not telling the whole stories has also been a massive problem for the dogs. I mean, obviously, nobody wants anybody or any dog to get hurt by any dog of any kind. Like, all dogs bite. All dogs can bite. These dogs are very strong when they bite. So it's just common sense. It's probably going to have worse, consequences. But, to take the dog based on what it looks like, and throw a 3-line headline up without any of the backstory, without ever knowing, well, what was the circumstances of that dog? How's that dog been treated? Why was the dog not being supervised? Where's the humans, part in this? Mm-hmm. And that's another issue, is that, like, humans are just not held accountable. And, you never hear in a dog bite article that, hey, 2 dipshits who shouldn't own a dog, got these dogs. They weren't fixed. They were smacking it in the face its whole life. They were not, didn't have a secure yard. Oh, they're probably, a myriad of things that people do that are so irresponsible. You never hear that in the article. You just hear crazy dog out of nowhere. Just
that's
went bonkers.
That's a more credible journalistic piece than half the stuff that I read out there. It's like there can be 100 lab bites or husky bites, zero media coverage. There'll be one pit bull attack, right? And again, I don't know what the percentage is, but it could be that it potentially was the pit bull. But for the most part, it really is pit bull parents, you can call them, or owners that are just highly irresponsible. They do all the things that you just mentioned. And then
there's no question about it.
The outcome is almost foreseen. It's obviously that's what's going to happen. And a lot of times, like these owners, they're actually looking for the dog to do something like this. That's why they brutalize them their whole lives.
That's right. That's right. And it's like, that's the thing, is that there's just zero accountability, and if there is a dog that has bushy hair that bites somebody, what is how it's reported is dog, an incident with a dog.
Yeah.
But if a dog with short hair, and a blocky head, reacts as a dog does, which is normal. You don't want, like I said, this is not like to in any way advocate or excuse any dog from biting anyone for any reason. But dogs do that. And we as humans domesticated them. And, when there's a dog with short hair and a square head and any sort of incident whatsoever, it's immediately a pit bull. They say pit bull. It's like, no, it's not. And by the way, does it matter? Let's talk about the parents. Where were the parents of the dog? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Every time one of these incidents happens, I will get a phone call or an email from a family member or a friend, and they will link this article, and it'll be like, pit bull bites person. And then I have to go into this whole detective mode. Well, who was the parents? What happened? And I'm like, I'm so sick of it. It's like, if I had a lab, no one would be sending me these type of articles. Right. And my dog, I mean, I wish I could bring her up here. She's a fatty, but it's the gentlest thing in existence. It's like, I think she's barked twice her whole life. When I hand her food, like it's just, the whole thing's ridiculous. It's the most sensitive thing on earth.
And the other thing too is that, like, this is one thing I always tell, I always say to people all the time is like, they're individuals, like just like human beings. I come from a big Italian family. We're not all alike. As a matter of fact, I'm nothing like most of the people in my family. So, dogs, every single dog, even if a dog comes from the same litter or whatever, they're individuals. They all have different needs. They all have different personalities. They're all uniquely and specifically different. And they should be treated like that.
Yeah. They all have a certain experience when they grow up. They were all handled by different people. Some were better, some are worse.
Yeah.
They take that in. Let's go back a little bit. We went right into it. So
yeah, we did.
Yeah. I mean, it was bound to happen.
It was bound to happen. When you say the word pit bull, we're gonna go there. Yeah.
It's just all right. So how did you get into comedy? I know nowadays I guess you're like a third. It's like comedian, actress, pit bull advocate, right? Are those like the three big things that you still do, right?
I'll always be a comedian. Like I absolutely love doing stand-up comedy. And the only reason I haven't done it actually I did a virtual show. Those are really bizarre.
How was it?
It was still fun because it was a stand-up for Pitt's virtual show.
Okay.
But I've been touring I started doing comedy when I was 20 years old. That's 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been doing it for a very long time and I love it very much. And I love doing stand-up. I've been touring on and off for about 20 years. So I'm a comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'll do that until, I can't stand upright anymore. And then as far as acting goes, yeah, an occasional gig comes along that I book, and I love doing it, and it's always fun. So yes, all those things. And I'm a writer, but the full-time 365 days a year job is running my organization. It's a national organization. It's an enormous amount of work. And I'm essentially the only employee that, is running things. I have, bookkeepers, CPAs and stuff, lawyers and stuff like that. Yeah. But I have, and some amazing volunteers, thank God. But it's real small and it's grassroots and it's an enormous amount of work. But I'm really proud of it. And I'm really proud of the work that we do. We make a lot of impactful changes and have saved an enormous, countless lives nationwide, locally here in LA and all over the country, and we'll continue to do it. So that's I always say, like, comedy and acting and stuff, that's my passion. I love to do that. I love doing that. It's really, really fun. But my life's purpose is what I'm doing with my organization. Yeah. There's a big difference. There's a difference between your life's purpose and your life's passion. But one thing I'm really great, and I only learned that, I'm 50 years old. I only learned that, 10 years ago, the difference between passion and your life's purpose and passion. But one thing I'm really excited about and happy about is that I get to use what I love doing, comedy, to help save dogs. And that's been really, really cool. And being able to book my friends, the comedians on the shows and tour. And have you ever been to a Stand Up for Pits event?
I have not.
They're awesome. You'll have to come when we come to the East Coast. Yeah. Yeah, they're really fun. And so yeah, it's a great thing that I get to use comedy, something I love doing also with doing something of measure that's going to be, a good impact.
Yeah, well, you've managed to fuse the two very well, the passion and the purpose. And I've seen some of those on YouTube and stuff, and they're hilarious, but I've never been to an actual one. So that's definitely on the bucket list. Before we get into the Stand Up for Pits, how did you know that you wanted to get into comedy? For me, for example, I think there's like certain things that frighten most individuals, right? Like public speaking is one. Getting into a fight maybe is another one. For me, like I've been doing martial arts my whole life.
Okay.
Fighting doesn't really, it's not a fear, right? Like I don't mind getting into like a ring with someone. It's kind of fun actually. Getting up on stage is frightening for me. I'm just imagining like how, when you start out comedy, right? And you go on stage for the first time, and I'm assuming, as most comedians probably do, in the beginning, you kind of bomb. Like, how do you get past that hurdle and just keep going?
Yeah. I've eaten shit so many times beyond measure. And honestly, like I the stuff that's on YouTube and stuff, I don't put that on there. I don't know who put it on there. But it's painful for me to watch any of it, to be honest with you. Like I have a really hard time watching myself.
Okay.
And I think the thing with stand-up, for me, getting on stage that's not a problem. Like I don't have fear of getting on stage. That's not a problem. I think the part that's about stand-up, for me anyways, I'm sure every comic would have a different take or a different story or whatever. And it's a journey. It's and some people it just comes really easy to, and they just skyrocket from the moment they step on stage, and you're like, what the hell? And then some people their whole lives, can, struggle trying to get to a place where they feel, good about doing it or whatever. For me, I think it's just it's a really vulnerable place to be, because you're just by yourself with your thoughts, that you, and it's what's weird about stand-up for me is that, you have to, you're essentially growing as an artist in front publicly. So you're making mistakes. Like I've done jokes in the past I would never do now. I've thought things were funny then that I don't think are funny now. Writing style changes your physicality. For me, I evolved, and that's the part that sucks is like, oh, when you're not, when you're not just born a perfect stand up and can get on stage age 16, like some of them can, and just rip it out for the rest of their lives perfectly. Yeah. You have to go through growing pains, and that sucks because you're doing it in front of people, and that's where YouTube comes in and you're like, oh, wow, cool. So that was, back in the day, when other comic, Steve Martins and stuff were doing stand up, if they were practicing, it wasn't on YouTube. They got to kind of eat shit in private, or
the embarrassment wouldn't live in eternity on the internet.
Yeah. So that's the part for me that I hate.
Yeah.
But it's also part of it, and that's why when people go after comics, find old tweets or old whatever jokes they said that were like not, appropriate. Whatever. It's like, it's a really hard, I mean, I get it, but it's also like, it's a really hard thing to do. And when you're finding your footing and trying to find your voice and master a craft, and it is a craft, you're going to make mistakes and say and do stupid shit, but
well, they're also judging them by today's standards, right? Like you're judging a tweet from 10 years ago or a YouTube clip from 15 years ago by the standards we have today, which weren't applicable back then.
Yeah. I mean, look, inappropriate things and saying things that are, like the movies from back then there's so many films that will not be appropriate.
Yeah.
I just think because there's a higher level of consciousness, it doesn't necessarily mean it was right to do ever. But it was just like a sort of like it was stupidity and ignorance, sort of the same about pit bulls. It's like, this is what you thought 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. This is the reality. It's about learning and evolving. And I do think that, we're human beings and everyone, deserves a, I don't know, there's a level of, we got to, give each other a break a bit. We're all idiots. We're all just trying to figure it out till we die. But when it comes to pit bull type dogs, there's absolutely no fucking excuse. Those dogs they can't even speak. And they're the sweetest things on earth. So to hate some sort of animal who can't, like, it's insane. But yeah, no, I mean, I love stand-up so much. Like it's such an unbelievable experience to engage, with an audience. I wish I could do it a lot more.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Did you always love animals and pit bulls, or is that something that at some point it just kind of, you connected with a dog and something happened and then maybe that's how the organization came? Or
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've loved animals far more than people since birth. Like I'm not a huge giant fan of humanity in general. Never really have been. I don't really remember ever being like, wow, people are awesome. But my life really changed. The trajectory of my life really changed when Angel came into my life. And Angel's the dog that inspired the Stand Up for Pits Foundation and the Pitbull March on Washington. And she inspires still everything I do with regards to this cause and my advocacy. And I just started fostering her. This was about, oh my gosh, I think it's probably 2008, I adopted her in 2009.
Okay.
In I think July of 2009. And I just immediately, I was completely ignorant to the plight of these dogs and the discrimination and everything that they were going through. I did not know that they endured anything that they were going through. And then I adopted her and immediately saw how people treated her and treated me with her, and crossing the street and all these comments. And, someone had abused her. She had this big acid burned down her back and butchered her ears off her head. And people thought she was just terrifying. And then I started deep diving into breed-specific legislation, the dogfighting epidemic, and the discrimination and abuse and neglect, and all of these, how these dogs are mislabeled, and all of this stuff that was going on. And after I learned everything, I was devastated and sickened, and doing nothing was just not an option. Like doing nothing was not an option. I had to do something. So
Yeah.
I started doing stand up for Pitts events. And the first one I did was in Hollywood, like in 2011 or 10 or 11. This is our 11th year. And I just, would raise all this money and hand checks to organizations. And then in 2013 or 14, I applied, got an attorney and applied to become my own nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And then and was able to earmark and delegate funds how I felt appropriate in the ways that I wanted to use those to help. And then, organize the march and did all that stuff. And it's just continuing to, grow. It grows year after year, slowly but surely.
What's the bulk of the work that the organization does?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, educating and advocating is just as important as, slicing off checks to rescues, frontline rescue efforts and initiatives and all of those things. Educating people, changing the minds, changing the social consciousness is, in my opinion, it's the most tedious part of running this organization. It's just the constant education, the constant talking, the constant battles, because a lot of times it's battles. But that's a big part of it. But we also have a massive national initiative called Spay Neuter Angel Day. And that is done in cities all over the nation. And we go into underserved communities, and we fully fund people's spay and neuters of their pit bull type dogs. It is only for pit bull type dogs. It is only for people who would otherwise never be able to do it. And we have done thousands of dogs, which is a really, really important thing, because it's a solution driven initiative. Because just one unaltered female dog, so just one unaltered female dog over a 6-year period, if all of her offspring are also left unaltered, that can produce over 6 years, just 67,000 unwanted dogs.
What?
Yeah. Google that shit.
67.
So you have one female, let's say has 10 puppies.
That's like bunny sex numbers.
That's what I'm saying. So you have one, let's say, one female, she has 10 puppies.
Okay.
None of those puppies are fixed.
Okay.
They all have 10 puppies.
Yeah.
None of them are fixed. Think about that. Over 6 years.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, I always say, like, the best way to prevent a dog, to help a dog in a shelter is by not getting a dog in the shelter, not preventing the dog from getting in the shelter to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is a very prevention-driven initiative that's super important, and it's really hard to get people excited about, because they don't understand the value of spay and neuter. So that's another level of education and advocacy that it's an uphill battle, but we're really trying to do that, because by spaying and neutering, you're lowering the intake and euthanasia numbers in shelters. And since most of the shelters are occupied by dogs that are labeled pit bulls, that's a really important thing to do. But aside from that, we do, we run a dog fighting tip line in Los Angeles County.
It's insane to me that still exists in the U.S., that there's dog fighting rings or whatever the fuck they're called. That's insane.
Yeah. It happens all over the country by all kinds of people. Rich people, poor people, white people, people of all ethnicities. That's right. Yeah. Educated people. This is not just, that's another human ignorant, thing where it's like, oh, this is just backwoods. This only happens in deep in inner cities or in the back. No, it doesn't. There's policemen, veterinarians, teachers, school teachers, professional athletes who have all been arrested and convicted of dogfighting. I mean, it's a very real thing. And it's something that it drives me insane because, where there's dogfighting, there's always other crime. And if our society were to remove people who engaged in this horrific, I mean, it's one of the cruelest forms of animal cruelty there is. It's horrific. And, where there's always usually illegal gambling and drugs and weapons and child abuse and domestic abuse and arson and all these things that the dog fighters do and engage in. And if our society made it a priority to end it, we would make communities safer for humans and pets. But no one even talks about dog fighting. There are no resources to end dog fighting on any level, federal, state, or local. It's just terrible. And so that's another thing that we, is very much part of the Stand Up for Pits Foundation mission, is to educate people about. If you see something, do something. If you suspect something, do something, say something. Because a lot of these dog fighters are deep underground, and it's a complex, gross, horrific world that's very much happening all over the place, where you might not think it ever would, in people's basements, behind grocery stores, on hiking trails, in U-Hauls, like it's everywhere. So there's that. And then we also help with frontline rescue efforts too. So, around the country, we've bought dogs, prosthetic leg. We've helped an organization build a fence around their property so they could bring in dogs. We've, helped fix animal cruelty vehicles. We run the gamut of wherever there's a need, we'll help with.
That's awesome.
So we've networked dogs. We cross post our live events. We've raised thousands and thousands of dollars worth of shelter supplies nationwide for shelters. And so, we do all kinds of crap. That's good.
Are you the biggest pit bull dedicated organization in the US? I think so, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite the
I
achievement.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Yes, it is an achievement, and it's a great thing. And I'm, as I said, I'm very proud of my organization and how it's run and what we do with what little we have. We don't have millions and millions of dollars. We don't have huge sponsors. We don't get giant grants. We get none of it. We sell comedy tickets, t-shirts, and get donations. And that about wraps it up. But we do unbelievably impactful work. And I'm really proud of that. That said, I wish it didn't have to exist. I've been asked so many times, what is the goal, for your organization? What would you love to see? What's the dream? The dream is I just make an announcement one day and just shut it all down and go, guess what? No more dogs are being abused or killed or dying, and we don't need this shit anymore. We shut it down.
No, that's unfortunately, like you said, humans, they suck, for lack of a better word. And, I've had a lot of people from different nonprofits, Jill Robinson, who, she handles the Moon Bears over in China, and all these other people. And it seems like every animal needs not one, but many nonprofits to try to save, from polar bears to rhinos to elephants to, name any wildlife. They have a nonprofit that is helping to protect and preserve them. So dogs are obviously the most popular. I think there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of nonprofits across the country, if not tens of thousands maybe, that are helping them. So, I think, and you probably know much more about this than I do, but I feel like there's an upward trajectory. I feel like we're doing much better than we were 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago. And hopefully that trajectory is going to keep going in that direction.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
but it is sad that we need so many nonprofits to literally save and preserve every single animal on this earth, because people see it as, financial reward, as a tradition to kill it, as there's always some logic, right, behind what the reasoning for them to do it. And it's sad. Yeah,
it is. It is sad. And it would be really great if we could just stop being idiots,
That would be nice.
Because then, we wouldn't have to, but you know what? I mean, what do we expect? Humans kill each other every single day. So it's not that surprising that they're going after animals too in this way. But I am dedicated to these dogs and, fully inspired. I was fully inspired by Angel and still am. All the work that we do is, in her memory and live in her life, and legacy continues on in what we do. And these dogs are worth it, every second of it. It's brutal and painful and exhausting and infuriating and all of those feelings and all that stuff. But every life saved or every mind changed, every step forward is important. So
when did Angel pass?
April 2nd, 2016.
Okay, wow, April. So we're in April now. And then when did the famous Mr. Todd and Sally come into the mix?
Oh boy. Well, they after when Angel passed away, I was, obviously completely devastated and gutted, and was like, I'll never adopt another dog again. I'll foster and I'll continue the work, but can't do that again.
Yeah.
And then Todd and 8 other dogs were rescued from a dogfighting operation in San Diego. And I found out about them because they brought them back to Los Angeles County.
Yeah. And
I went back and forth with the county about it, and I ended up getting Todd and his mom. What is, I guess, his mom? That's the information I was given. And the rest were destroyed. And because LA County has this ordinance, a vicious dog ordinance, that's absolutely insane, that just kills dogs seized from dogfighting operations. Absolutely ridiculous. So I was able to get Lucille and Todd. Lucille his mom was very, very, very sick. And not, I had no intentions of adopting them at all. It was just, I wanted to save them. And so got them and fought really hard to save, Lucille, but she passed away of a blood disease called Babesia gibsoni. It's a really common blood disease found in dogfighting dogs.
Okay.
And she fought hard, and it was a tragic, tragic story. And little Mr. Todd made it. The only guy, the only one that made it. And he was an enormous amount of work. He was really shy and really scared and was freaked out by light because, he lived under a house. They were kept under a house. And so he was, as funny as he is and as cute as he is and as amazing as he is, he had he needed an enormous amount of patience and a home with someone who could be there 24/7. He had separation anxiety, would try to eat blankets. Like he had, issues, major issues. So again, I had no intention of adopting him. But I started caring for him, and he was sickly. He had Giardia like 3 times, and he was just a lot of stuff. And I just realized after a while that, I was probably the best one for him. Yes, I fell in love with him, of course, but it's also like I am the best home for him because I'm here and I can provide for him. He's a foundation dog. He's alive because of my foundation, and he can get the care that he's going to need, and so I made the decision to keep him, and I was like, well, here we go again. Here we go again. And then
this is why I don't foster, because I know I'm going to have like 20 dogs in my house. If it's not, none of them are going to go back.
I know. Well, it's also the care aspect of it. It's like, I know everyone loved Todd. I'm sure Todd could have got a home pretty easily, but he's not the kind of dog that's like, oh, I'm going to go to work for 8 hours and he could just hang out in the house. He'd probably burrow through a wall and try to get he needs exactly what he has. I can just say that this is where, with myself is where he is supposed to be. And then Sally was sent to the foundation as a dog who was going to be euthanized, I think that day at the Baldwin Park shelter. And so I asked one of our volunteers, you want to go pull this little hippo and let's save her life. I don't know anything about her, but the dog place where Todd was at, like this dog, kind of like a dog sitter place. It's not boarding. It's more of like a daycare place this friend of mine owned. And I said, he said he would take her because we don't have fosters. We don't pull in place dogs. But he said, yeah, we'll take her on and get her a home and let's try it.
Yeah.
Because he's done that with a few other dogs. He had Lucille, he had Todd, he had a dog named Lola, a dog named Betty White. So he was like, yeah, we'll take her. I said, all right. So we pulled her and, took her right to the vet and immediately found out she needed like her canine removed, some teeth removed, because obviously she was used for massive breeding. She probably broke her teeth off trying to get out of wherever she was or whatever. Yeah. She had severe skin infections, a massive mast cell tumor hanging off of her vulva, which is like, oh, great. So she has cancer too. So essentially we pulled a dog with tons of medical issues and which they biopsy, they, cut it off and they sent it in and it was cancer. She had the same kind of cancer Angel had. I was like, oh my God. So we had that. Then she had to get both of her knees replaced. And then on top of that, found out she's extremely dog reactive. Like
oh, really?
She hates, oh yeah, like no joke. So I was like, okay, so how are we going to place a dog with systemic cancer, mast cell disease, skin issues, and is absolutely not okay with other dogs? Like, so I still kept pushing her. I was putting her out there. Who wants her? It's a hard sale. But who wants her? And she was, she's so cute. But everybody like, well, yeah, she doesn't like other dogs, or, oh, she has cancer. I can't afford that, blah, blah, blah. And long and short of it, there was this amazing woman who I remember, I think she lives in North Carolina. I don't really remember where she lived. There's another guy in Arizona too. It's pretty great. And they both were like, well, they wanted her with cancer, with all of her medical stuff. And for me, after going through with what I went through with Angel and stuff, I would ask the people, I did have conversations with them, like, what would you do with her cancer? Are you going to put her through tons of surgeries and chemo? And like, what's the extent you're going to go? Because some people really go far and hard, in that. And it's just not something I believe in. That's me. I'm not telling anyone else how to live their life, but I'm just saying for me and my experience, no. So I just thought she's just going to have to stay, with me, a foundation dog that we can, provide the care for her and give her the best life we can give her for as long as or short as it is. She was only given 6 months to live without chemo.
Yeah.
So we're here 4 years later. She's 4 years later, and she's obsessed and madly in love with Todd.
Okay.
And now I have 2 dogs and Todd was just recently diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I have 2 dogs now with medical needs, who are also emotional basket cases in their own way. But there's no question they are exactly where they should be. And that's how it happened.
Yeah.
And why does she love Todd? Everyone asks me all the time, why does she love Todd? And what dog trainer did you take him to? And what you do? I'm like, I don't know why she loves Todd. I did provide a safe and loving home for them. And kind of, I started taking them on walks together and slowly acclimating, and she fell in love with him. But I have no other explanation other than they just fell in love. And so there they are. Here we are.
I have a pit bull, and then the other one is like a pit, we think pointer mix, and he's older. Okay. And we adopted the younger pit bull when the other one was probably 6 or 7 years old. I cannot leave the house for 2 minutes with him, with the older dog, because she goes crazy. Like, she has to be attached to him at all times.
Really?
Yeah, all the time. Like, if I just go outside for 2 minutes, like I can hear her just barking and crying from like afar. So Yeah, we just so it's it's a 2-for-1. Like you can't separate them. You can't go anywhere. If I have to take only one to the vet, I'll just do I'll just do both because it's easier.
Having two is a definite different dynamic.
Oh,
it really is. It's like totally. And with Angel, we were like E.T. and Elliot in some ways. Like we were just so deeply connected. Like, it was just me and her, and she toured with me and traveled with me, all those years. And we just had this insane connection.
Yeah. And
with Sally and Todd, while they love their mother, they know that I'm their go-to, but I'm also their assistant. And their love for each other is they love each other. It's really the Sally and Todd show. And I'm just here to support. I'm here to support the needs that they require.
You're just part of the crew. You're just there.
That's all.
Exactly.
That's all. It's a different dynamic, but I'm really proud they're alive because of the Stand Up for Pits Foundation.
Yeah.
And continue to be. And I mean, obviously I care for them, and I love them, but I'm really happy they got a chance because even though Sally's the worst breed ambassador to ever live, she stands on my deck barking at everything that goes by. I'm like, you're wonderful. Good job. Good job. She's constantly yelling. But they're a good testament. Their story is important and impactful because they're two dogs that suffered two extreme forms of abuse in different capacities who were essentially thrown away and expected to die and would have. And yet they, they're inherently good. I say that all the time. And they live these great lives and they love each other so much. They're just a great example of how these dogs are just so... they just got it. They got their shit together. These dogs, like I've said this a million times too, is like, they're the best teachers and they don't say a word, like if humans could live their lives in the way that these dogs do, the world would be a better place. I mean, they live in the moment. They don't forget the shit that happened to them, but they live in the moment and they love unconditionally. And they're just fucking great. So
what I find funny is, and this is true, I'm sure for a lot of other like quote unquote communities, but like I'm sure when comedians meet each other, they'll have like this sense of bonding right away, or police officers with other police officers, firemen with other firemen. I feel like when pitbull parents meet, there's like this kind of a kinship or an understanding that like
there is.
Yeah, because like I'll be honest, when I adopted the second pit bull, a lot of people told me like, oh, you shouldn't do it. Or if you do, you get a female, or all these different things, right?
Yeah.
And then I ended up obviously adopting. And it was a 180 to everything I thought it would be. It was a 180 to everything people told me. It was a dog. It's just a regular dog. She's literally the laziest dog. It's not even like a high energy dog. She's a hippo. All she wants to do is lay down.
That's right.
I have to like, come on, let's go pee. I have to like convince her. So it's literally like the best house dog because such low energy. It's the best.
So like it sounds like to me like you've got what's called a baked potato.
Essentially, yes. Let
me see if I can get Todd up here. Come here, guy. Come here, Todd. He's been laying in the sun by the door, and now he's out of breath. I told you not to do that. Come here, guy. Come up. Come here. Let's see if we can get you on here. Let's see. Yeah, I got him right here. I'm on the couch. Hang on.
Hey. Oh, so cute.
He's a good one. He's a good one.
He's the best.
Yeah, Sally's still over there laying. Oh, here he's now acting. He's drunk. Yeah. Sally's still over there.
For all the people that can't hear, we all just had a very cute look at a very cute black pit bull. Or
his name is Tom. What?
Staffy, right? He's more of a Staffy.
Well, his DNA test was like Staffy. And by the way, like these DNA tests, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big spender. And so I went for like the low cost DNA test, and it was like Staffy, there's some that you can buy that are like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No. No.
So his was like Staffy and French Bulldog. I think he did actually have a little bit American Pit Bull. He has an underbite.
Yeah.
I think there was also, I want to say there was maybe, I say French Bulldog. Yeah. And I think there was Lab too. I'm not sure. But I always say that when people are like, what is he? I'm like, well, he's labeled a pit bull, which because, whatever. And, but I think he's like he's part ET extraterrestrial and part fruit bat.
Yeah. With a touch of seal, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe a tiny bit of seal. Yeah. So he's, whatever. You know what he is? He's a dog.
He's adorable.
He's adorable is what he is. His breed is, look at him.
Oh, he's the best.
His breed is adorable. That's what he is. He's adorable.
After we stop recording, I'll try to get my dog in here for a second for you to see.
Okay.
So I know we have to go soon, so I just want to cover a couple of more things.
Yeah.
BSL. All right.
Yep.
For example, for me, I have been turned away from many apartments that would not allow me to rent an apartment because I have a pit bull. I don't know how that's legal. I guess, I don't know. Somehow it's maybe it's a loophole, but it is legal. They can't do that. And I get it all the time. Maybe explain to people what BSL and what happens to dogs because of it.
Oh, well, first of all, what you're talking about being turned away from apartments, that's really a landlord renter issue. What that means in a nutshell is that your landlord's an asshole. That's what that means.
Correct.
It really doesn't have much to do with breed specific legislation. It just means that you have a fear-based, you have a landlord who lives in a place of fear-based ignorance comfortably and feels strongly enough about their ignorance to push someone away because of the type of their dog.
But it's very common though.
Very
common.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's terrible. There's a website called My Pit Bull is Family. I think it's mypitbullisfamily.com. Have you heard of it?
No.
I think they offer resources. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been on it in a long time, but I think that they offer resources for people who have dogs that are labeled pit bull type dogs for where they can rent or get insurances with that kind of dog. So the issue too, along with fear-based ignorance, is the landlords claim that they can't insure these type of dogs, and they're not wrong about that. I think State Farm offers like homeowners insurance that will take a pit bull type dog. State Farm is good. And then I feel like there's one other one. Go to the, you can't get insurance, some kinds of insurances if you have this type of dog. And that's part of the problem. That's why a lot of landlords are like, I'm not going to touch it and so it's a systemic problem. Once again, it goes back to it's discrimination, which brings me to breed specific legislation, which is basically discrimination enshrined in law. And it's not just pit bull type dogs that are discriminated against. There's several breeds: German Shepherds, Dobermans, Dogo Argentinos. There's all whole list of dogs that are affected by breed specific legislation. And there's different levels of breed specific legislation. Some areas, like in Prince George County, Maryland, dogs, pit bull type dogs in the shelter, they can only be pulled by rescues. The public cannot go adopt a pit bull type dog in Prince George, Maryland.
Really?
It's disgusting. Yes, they have to be pulled by a rescue partner rescue with that shelter. So if you say, "Oh, I moved to the area, I'd like to adopt a pit bull type dog," you can't. You have to wait. You have to go through a rescue, and that rescue has to go to the shelter and pull. It's disgusting.
That's so
in Denver, back in the day, there's been some progress there, but
they changed the law, I think, in Denver, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's still rules like, your dog has to be, I think it has to be registered. I'm not exactly sure. I could be wrong. And, leashed. And I think in some cases, maybe muzzled. I'm not sure. That said, I'm for it because it's enforcing responsible pet ownership, which I'm all for. So
what, the muzzle?
I'm for a muzzle. If a dog poses a danger to others and itself,
yeah.
Sure, put a muzzle.
But it shouldn't be standard for pit bulls to have muzzles. No.
But if a dog poses a danger, absolutely. Why not prevent? Sure. maybe if those measures were taken before incidents happened, we wouldn't be in this situation, you know? It's really the owners should have to wear one too.
I I got bit by a husky like 3 years ago, and dude, that shit hurt. That shit really hurt. And like he was the sweetest dog. He was the sweetest dog. He was like jumping up on me, and out of nowhere, just clamped down on my hand. And you know, I was nice about it. Like I didn't like. I talked to the owner. I didn't sue him. I was like, dude, just send me the. I just want to make sure the dog doesn't. He's got all the shots, and he's because I don't want to go to the hospital. He was nice. He was very apologetic. But dude, that shit hurts. And that was it was a big husky. So
yeah. And by the way, it's like this too. It's like if that owner. Like, I don't know his story. And if he could see this and tell me like, shut up, you don't know me, whatever. But here's the thing. If there's a chance your dog could bite somebody and you insist on taking this dog out to be around people, then prevent, a basket muzzle or a cloth muzzle or something to prevent that from happening is a much better thing for your dog and other people. Like
if I was an asshole, I could have caused him some serious issues.
You could have.
But I'm a dog lover, so I would never do that. But
hopefully he learned. Did you educate him? Did you say, hey, dude, if you're going to set your dog up for failure like that, you need to change the way you live and behave and go get your dog a basket muzzle or something so he doesn't bite anyone else? Did you tell him?
No, he kind of ghosted me after a bit.
I see.
Yeah. He was supposed to go. He was like, oh, I'll buy you a beer. I'm so sorry. I was like, all right. And then I don't know. I remember texting him something about the shots and I just never heard from him again. So it's all good.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's probably been another incident.
I hope not. I hope not
too. Yeah. I hope you learned, but see, that sucks. But so yeah, breed specific legislation is it's discrimination enshrined in law. It prevents people from owning dogs that are labeled pit bull type dogs in certain cities and counties around the country. And I believe breed specific legislation are statewide. They vary, the laws vary, the degree of BSL varies from state to state, from county to county, city to city. So it's ignorant, it's ineffective, and it costs taxpayers millions of dollars. Doesn't work. Yeah. And what's one of the most another disgusting part of BSL is it was effective on, and I'm not sure if it is now. It's something I'm going to have to look into. But when I marched on Washington with the Pibble March, that was in 2014, a active duty military person started a petition because pit bull type dogs were not allowed on military bases. So essentially, you have these amazing humans, these amazing Americans who are willing to sign up and serve our country, and they're being forced to relinquish their family members, their dogs. So these military people were like, this is absolutely ridiculous. We're serving this country. We have to get rid of our dog. And they were having to. And I remember back in 2014, the petition got over 30,000 signatures. And at the time, I remember hearing this. Again, anyone can fact check any shit I say. And I think I'm right about this, but I'm not sure. I feel like a petition that is geared toward a government official, it has to have a minimum, I think, of 30,000 signatures. And then there has to be a response, a public response to it. Yeah. And I think that I remember this petition got an enormous amount of signatures from people in and, active duty military and past who've suffered the loss of giving up their animal to serve the country. And the White House issued a statement. And it was the first time the White House ever issued a statement specifically about breed specific legislation. And Obama was in the White House at the time, and he said that the White House said it was breed specific legislation is discrimination enshrined in law, and it's ineffective, and it is not helping anyone, and that it's wrong. That said, I don't know if it changed. I have to actually. I'm gonna dig into that. You dig into that too. I want to see if active duty military in the United States can bring pit bulls to live with them on military bases. Because they have their family. I hope so too. But for some reason, I feel like my brain is saying that at some point someone said that that did change after that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it hasn't. I feel like they're still having to give him up.
I know some places have changed or in transition. Montreal, I know, Denver. I don't know specifically about this one with the military, but it seems like hearts and minds are changing. So it could be that, they just followed suit. But again, we should probably Google that.
Yeah, no, I want to look into that because, it's went through my mind times. I wonder what is going on with that, because how unfair is that?
So unfair.
It's so stupid. So the good news is it is getting overturned quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
People are waking up to the reality that, that deeming a dog dangerous based on what it looks like is not accurate, and it is ignorant. It's discrimination, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
But there's still some places in this country, and obviously around the world, England, other places that you can't, you can't have access to them, or
Europe have some. I mean, I guess it depends where. I know in some countries in Europe they have better laws. Like for example, ear cropping is illegal, where here in the U.S. it is still legal. So
I don't know about that. Where is it illegal?
I think most of Europe, I'm pretty sure it's illegal. I don't know the specific countries, but I know like a good chunk of Europe is illegal.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't believe it's allowed at all, but it is.
I know. Yeah, let me just cut off. Why don't I cut off your fucking ear? See if you like that. How insane.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. All right. So I know you gotta go. I just want to ask just one more question. So I know Bill Burr, he used to have a pit bull as well. And I believe he was part of the stand-up, right? Event.
Oh yeah. He did a few of them.
But then when he had his baby, he had to, and I always wondered, because my wife and I are big fans, and we always used to go to the shows, but we kind of he never followed up and told us, what happened to the dog. I was just wondering, maybe, like where the dog is he all right? Is he okay?
From what I understand is that his dog went to his trainer.
Okay.
So from what I understand, the dog is doing great and fine. And that the last time I talked to Billy, he had said that, I think that the trainer even brought him to come and visit him. I don't know where the dog lives, maybe Arizona or something. I'm not sure, but I know he spoke publicly about it. I don't listen to his podcast, or I don't listen, I don't follow, but I know that he spoke publicly about it and stuff. And when I spoke to him about it, I thought what he was doing, I know he took a lot of criticism for it and all of that. And
I'm giving the dog away.
Yeah, I remember that whole thing, but and I'm a very big proponent as, when you adopt this dog, that dog is yours, that is family. They're not disposable or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's what was important about that lesson, with him and with anyone, is that he knew that there was a potential that dog could bite his child. He knew
one.
That. Huh?
That's a tough position to be in.
It's very, and I know that he was upset about it. Very tough, because he loved that dog very much. And, but he, and also, that dog is family, and you don't want to but he didn't dispose of the dog. He placed the dog in a better living arrangement for that dog, for that dog's life. From what I understand.
No, I wasn't criticizing Bill. I love Bill.
I'm just saying this.
I just wanted to know.
No, I get it. I didn't feel like you were. I'm just saying.
I love Bill, man.
It's a good lesson but it's a good lesson for everyone. It's a good topic to bring up, because, it's placing a dog in an environment that's better for the dog, and it's preventing something from happening that could be unbelievably tragic, that he prevented that. And he also followed up, and he did it in the most, responsible way. So I would say this, aside from Bill, anyone who comes into that circumstance, that's horrible. That's a horrible, that's a painful situation, but it should not be handled any less than how he did it. It should be, that dog should have follow through. It should not be thrown in the shelter or given up to somebody off Craigslist. It should be placed in a loving home, in a loving environment where there can still be contact, accountability, and it should be thought out and handled in the most compassionate, responsible way, which from what I understand, that is exactly what he did. So, yeah.
That's the thing. There are instances and there are things that can happen in life where you unfortunately maybe have to give up the dog, right? Those things can happen. But like you said, if that does happen, there are ways like, throwing it out in the middle of the highway or some, I don't know, in the backwoods.
Put it on Craigslist or posting it on social media going free dog, or just rolling up to the shelter and dumping it. Like, that's not how you handle that.
Exactly.
It is, that's not how you handle it. And if it takes you a year to place the dog, then so be it.
Mm-hmm.
That it is your responsibility. That is a family member, so
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, this was a lot of fun.
It was.
Other than Stand Up for Pits, what are some of the best places, that people can get more information, can get involved? Maybe like what, just give people plug it in, all the good places.
All right. All the good places. Well, you can check out standupforpits.us.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of, we got a variety show on there and a comedy special from 2017 on there. That's really awesome. We have merchandise you can buy, which the proceeds go directly to the Stand Up for Pits Foundation. That's all on the website. As far as social media, we're on Instagram. Stand Up for Pits Foundation has a page. Sally and Todd has a page. We're on Twitter. Stand Up for Pits Foundation is on Twitter. Twitter is Twitter. And then we have a Facebook page too. And, just follow along and, you can either donate. If you can't donate, get it, but you can volunteer. You could donate shelter supplies in your local area. There's always something you could be doing. If you can't do any of those, you don't feel like you can, or for whatever reason, you can get on our social media and help network dogs that need homes. And there's always something you can do. And you can follow us on all of those platforms.
Yeah. And if you love looking at cute dogs, just go follow. It's very easy, and get involved and, just do what you can. That's it. That's all I can say. So again, this was awesome. Maybe in the future we get to do it again. I really appreciate your time and take care.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.